Hi YouTube, do you want to be able to solo master content with ease? This headless one in the Legend Lost Sector didn't stand a chance. Would you like your cooldowns to be almost instantaneous? Does flying through the air like Spider-Man at will sound like fun? If you answered yes to any of these three questions, stay tuned for today's video. We're breaking down the Strand Titan build, the absolute best build in all of Destiny 2. And if you do enjoy this video, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. It helps the channel a ton. Let's get into it. So let's start off with our loadout. Our first weapon is our Sword Breaker. So this is the new shotgun from the Crota raid that just came back. We have enhanced 1-2 punch and we have enhanced pugilist. So if you have the regular version of 1-2 punch, it's a 100% increase on unpowered melee damage and 40% increase on powered melee damage. So if you have the enhanced perk, it grants an additional 25% damage, scaling from 100 to 150% on the unpowered melee damage, and then from 40% to 75% on the powered melee damage. Up next, we have our pugilist. The pugilist, every time we're getting kills with a shotgun, it provides 20% melee energy, and it also provides 35 handling as we're doing melee damage. So if you have the enhanced version, it does an additional 10%. So pretty measly, goes up to 22% melee energy on kills. So I would strongly recommend the enhanced 1-2 punch, whereas the pugilist is pretty marginal, the gains. If you're fighting against Taken, definitely run the Taken spec. It does 10% extra damage to all Taken, including the bosses. However, if it's any other enemy, run boss spec, as this will do an additional 7.77% damage to the bosses. So in our middle slot, I have likely suspect, and you'll see why in a second. It's just to make orbs, so you can run whatever you like. I do not like glaives personally with this loadout because of the swapping back and forth between the charged melees, but you can go ahead and run a glaive, whatever you like here. And lastly, absolutely run a tractor cannon. It does 30% extra damage to enemies. This will debuff your bosses for yourself and your teammates. If you're solo, then for yourself, but if you have teammates, they're also going to be benefiting from that 30% debuff. Absolutely take advantage of tractor cannon, and you'll see why. I'm going to show you a quick clip of me absolutely manhandling the Legend Lost Sector boss from this Halloween event. So up next, we're on to our mod customization page. So let's start off with our helmet, and you'll see a recurring theme in this build is we're gonna want to make a lot of orbs. We have this season the Void and Strand dual siphon up. So reason we had that fusion rifle on the Void one, we want to make orbs on multi-kills. Any of our weapons are going to be making orbs, so this is really important. We want orbs everywhere for ourselves and our fire team. Next up, we're gonna want hands-on, so we gain bonus super energy on melee kills. Pretty self-explanatory. So next up, we have our Synthoceps. So Synthoceps, when you're within 3 enemies within 15 meters, it grants biotic enhancements. So it's 50% increase to super and glaive melee damage and 200% increase on melee damage. So really strong, as they works in conjunction with everything else in this build. Just makes you an absolute animal. So in terms of mods on our Synthoceps, we want heavy-handed, so your powered melee final blows create orbs of power. Next up, focusing strike grants class ability energy when you cause damage with a melee attack. And next up is impact induction, causing damage with a melee attack reduces your grenade cooldown. So you'll notice a recurring theme of orbs and punching, and orbs and punching back and forth, and you just become a literal tank. It's phenomenal. Absolutely incredible build. Onto our chest piece. Here, I like to run concussive and melee damage resistance. A little bit extra damage resistance because you're in the thick of things all the time. That extra DR is always appreciated, but if there's something that you're extremely partial to here, by all means. So do keep in mind, emergency reinforcement is a 10% damage reduction when your shields are broken, and Font of Endurance is a plus 30 resilience. So if you already have 100 resilience, never run Font of Endurance, because essentially you're wasting 30 stats. Any stats over 100, as we know, are redundant. So keep that in mind. Up next, the boots. So we have Strand Weapon Surge and Void Weapon Surge. As you saw, we have those two weapons covered in our loadout in terms of the element. So we obviously want to give a little bit of a damage increase to these weapons because we're going to be making orbs everywhere. We're going to have our armor charges constantly up pretty much, and that will allow us to do an additional 10% with all of our weapons. So what that does, we're doing more damage, more enemies are dying, more orbs. Really gets into that snowball effect. Lastly, up our class item, because we're running double special finisher is huge. Because we're always making orbs, we're going to always have armor charges, so we can make finishers, make special all over the map for ourselves and our teammates, which is wonderful, because sometimes we're not going to be able to always access all the orbs that are everywhere. Putting down our wall will pick up all of the orbs within a radius. You'll kind of see like a blast that goes out. You'll kind of see the circumference, and you'll get a feel for what you can pick up as you continue to practice with this. And lastly is our time dilation. What this does is it increases the armor charge decay time from 10 seconds to 15 seconds. So if you were to run 3 time dilations, it would go to 20 seconds. If you have 2, it's 18 seconds. So that is how the time dilations work, and that is our mod customizations for our armor. All right. Right, last but not least, we have our Berserker Strand subclass. Obviously, we have the Blade Fury Super on. In terms of aspects, we're running the Banner of War. So Banner of War, it procs from melee kills, sword kills, or finisher kills. So it's a 40% damage buff to melees, 10% to sword. So it gives you and your allies massive damage reduction, and it stacks at 4. And just so everyone is aware, it refreshes on any kill. So a lot of people think that you have to get a sword kill or a melee kill, something like that. Just any kill, and it will refresh it. So up next is Into the Fray, and I feel like a lot of people are not running this. I see a lot of people running some of the other aspects. So this aspect is actually insane. A lot of times people just look at the first line and see that destroying a tangle or casting your super grants woven mail for nearby allies. So the most important part of this aspect is that while you have a woven mail, which as you saw, we're going to be making orbs everywhere, so constantly we'll have woven mail active, it increases your melee regeneration rate, and it's actually nuts. Here, take a look at this. So this is based off having 100 strength, so 30-second cooldown per charge without a buff. But once you have your woven mail buff up, it charges in 8 seconds. Isn't that insane? Let's quickly touch on our abilities. So we have the Rally Barricade, and the reason we're running this is it has a 38-second cooldown compared to a minute 10 on the Towering Barricade. Next up, your jump. Run whatever jump you like. I'm running Catapult. We have our Frenzied Blade, aka the Crab Claw. So much damage with this thing. And last but not least, we have our Grapple, basically allowing us to be Spider-Man in Destiny, which is incredible, and I love that. It's super fun and allows us to get in and out of the action, and is a huge asset to have. You'll notice with this build, I have very little discipline, 30. In fact, discipline is seen as a sexy stat in Destiny, but it's kind of irrelevant with this build. Obviously, we saw the importance of strength. In order to maximize those cooldowns, we have to have 100 strength. Discipline, not so important. And the reason being, our first fragment is Thread of Generation, so dealing damage generates grenade energy. Any type of damage that you output will refund parts of your grenade as you're outputting more damage, which you've seen, this build is just built for that, so you're gonna have your grenade back quite a bit. Keep in mind as well, if you're using tangles with your grapple, it does fully refund your grapple. On to Thread of Transmutation. While you have woven mail, weapon final blows create a tangle. So we saw the importance of tangles and how they can help you out. They're able to give you woven mail. You can fly through the air for free with them, but you can also use those tangles to refund your melee energy. As we saw early in the video, we threw that at a group of 4 enemies and it refunded 2 full melee charges, so it's really, really strong. Next up, Thread of Fury. Damaging targets with a tangle grants melee energy, so we just talked about, it's absolutely fantastic. And then Thread of Warding, picking up an Orb of Power, grants woven mail. So we're gonna have orbs everywhere. Woven mail is going to be active pretty much constantly. As woven mail, as we saw with our Into the Fray aspect, we are going to be constantly recharging the melee, outputting tons of damage, and it basically becomes this beautiful feedback loop that is just so satisfying to play. And that's why I wanted to bring this build forward to you guys today. Wanted you to take advantage of this as long as possible. If you did enjoy this video, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. It helps the channel a fuck ton. And until next time, see you soon.